Footballers complain about a lot, from the boots to the balls to the pitch itself, but in today's video I'm going to be testing every complaint out to see if they've really got a point or if they're just making excuses.
So these are all the complaints I'm going to test out today. And first up is this one from Kvaratskhelia.
So Kvaratskhelia complained about these boots.
After slipping 2 times in the first 11 minutes against Tottenham, Kvaratskhelia was angry as he changed his footwear on the touchline, and after the game he posted this photo on Instagram of his football boots in the bin. But the question is, are these boots really to blame?
So I bought the exact boots that he was wearing and I'm going to test them out and see if they really are that slippy. Going off the picture, these are the studs he was wearing, and I'm not going to lie, they do look pretty long.
So he was clearly wearing long metal studs, and off first impressions they seem pretty solid, but let's put them on feet.
So boots on feet now, and to be fair, they feel pretty good. We're on a very muddy Sunday League pitch now, so this is a perfect place to test these boots out.
So I did multiple quick turns on a pitch far worse than the one he was on, and they actually performed really well, and they definitely weren't any more slippy than any other boots.
All right, so I'm going to be honest, these boots feel absolutely fine. Now for this next complaint, it comes from Neymar, and to test this one out, I'm going to need this.
So Neymar has complained about a football stadium in Bolivia. He put this photo on Instagram with a caption saying, "Inhumane to play in these conditions. Field, altitude, ball, everything's bad. Bolivia's stadium is located at an extremely high altitude, meaning oxygen levels are low, and playing there is known as the toughest game in football, with players often requiring oxygen after the match. So I bought an altitude mask which simulates these conditions, and I'll play some football whilst wearing it to see how bad it really is."
That's on now. I don't know if you can hear me.
So the mask was on, and this will show me what it feels like to breathe at a high altitude. And now it was time to play some football and see if it really is as bad as Neymar says.
Already I can feel it's a lot harder to breathe with this thing on. Can you imagine this in a game environment? Oh, that would be very difficult.
I'm going to be honest, it was horrible using this. And by the end of the session, it left me feeling quite sick and absolutely exhausted.
Wow.
So I can definitely say this is a very valid complaint.
Now, next up on the list, we've got this Germany shirt from the 2010 World Cup.
This shirt included new technology from Adidas called TechFit. It was designed to be extra tight and compress muscles, and that would supposedly improve performance on the pitch.
But a lot of players complained that it was just too tight and horrible to wear, so let's try it on. I'm currently wearing a modern Adidas football shirt. This is size medium, that's the size I wear. This is also a size medium, so let's try it on. So far, so good. Bloody hell. Oh my God. Okay. I'm not gonna lie. Oh, this is insanely tight. Okay, you know what? This is actually ridiculous. It's so tight and it's really restrictive.
And this is me trying to get this shirt off.
This complaint I definitely agree with. This is horrible.
Coming up in this video, I test out complaints from Messi and Ronaldo. I'll also be showing you the #1 thing footballers complain about the most. But next up, we've got another pair of boots to test out.
Next up, we've got a pair of football boots that were revolutionary when they first came out, but not everyone was happy with them.
When Laceless boots first came on the scene, a lot of players complained about the lack of lockdown, meaning the foot would move around too much in the boot. I tested this out by doing some sharp turns, and it's clear that there's a lot more movement in the Laceless boots. So with this complaint, I agree.
Now, this next complaint is from a manager, Louis van Gaal, and I've got to be honest, it's one of the strangest complaints I've ever heard.
So, believe it or not, Louis van Gaal has complained about his players' first time shooting. He's said to be a very disciplined trainer, and he places a big importance on controlling the ball before shooting, as opposed to hitting it first time, as he thinks it gives players more accuracy, and he would often criticise the team if they failed to follow this rule. So of course I had to test it out myself. We're going to have 10 shots hitting the ball first time, and 10 shots taking a touch. We're going to aim for the right hand side of the goal, and at the end I'll compare the heat maps and see which technique was more accurate. First up was striking the ball first time, and this went really well.
So far, so good.
So this was the final heat map of our first time shots. Pretty accurate. Next up, we tried what Van Gaal preferred, and that's taking a touch before we shoot. And for some reason, this was going a lot worse.
Do you know what? That felt a lot worse.
Now, if you look at the final heat maps, you can see the first time shots were actually far more accurate. So for this complaint, I've got to disagree.
So this next complaint is about the boots inside this bag, which one player sued for £2 million.
Fellaini sued New Balance for £2 million in damages after claiming the boots they gave him were defective and hurt his feet. The boots apparently had to be steamed and stretched by the Man United kitman before they would fit him. He said the quality of the boots was so poor the label fell off. Can they really be that bad?
So let's take a look at these boots then. What are they?
So looks-wise, I think they're pretty nice.
Right, so now it's time to put them on, and to be honest, I'm a little bit scared because to be sued for 2 mil, they must be pretty uncomfortable. So straight off the bat, they do feel very, very stiff, I'm not gonna lie. Put them on. You know what? That's actually really comfy. I expected a lot worse than that.
First impressions, they were perfectly fine, but let's test them out.
Right, so I'm gonna start off with a little 10-minute run in these boots and see how they feel. Let's go. All right, honestly, first impressions, they're actually really comfortable. Yeah, so far, no complaints about these boots. So we've done the run, now we're on to the 100 shots, and if these boots are still feeling fine after that, then I've got no complaints.
So after testing these boots out, they feel absolutely fine for me. Now, our next complaint is about the Premier League ball, more specifically the yellow winter version. Multiple players have said that this ball feels heavier than the normal white ball that they're used to. So when it switches to the yellow version in winter, they can tell the difference in weight. Some players have suggested that it's down to the yellow paint, but for whatever reason, they're certain that it's heavier. So is this true, or are they just making excuses? I will of course weigh the ball, but first, let's see if we can feel a difference ourselves.
All right, let's do some pings. First up, we're using the white one. Feels like a normal ball. Now we've got the yellow one, and already, honestly, in the hand, it does feel heavier.
It does feel heavier. I'm saying it, mate.
It does feel like, it does, it really does.
I think it's heavier. It does feel heavier.
So from testing this ball out, it definitely felt heavier, but was that just in our heads, or did the yellow ball actually weigh more?
Right, so I've got both the footballs here and a set of scales, and I'm gonna see if this yellow ball really is heavier. Right, so first off, we've got the white ball. 434 grams. Right, now the yellow one. I'm actually really interested to see how much this weighs. 440 grams, so it is actually 6 grams heavier. That's actually incredible.
So this is actually a fair and true complaint. It's only 6 grams heavier, but at the top level, even the smallest details can make a difference. Now this next complaint comes from Cristiano Ronaldo, and to test this one out, I need to take a look in the fridge.
So Ronaldo complained about Coca-Cola. When doing a press conference, he moved the bottles of Coke out the way and told everyone to drink water instead. Let's give it a try. Now obviously Ronaldo's very health conscious and one of the most physically fit men on the planet, so this probably doesn't come into his diet, but I think in moderation Coke is fine to drink. But I can definitely see why Ronaldo wouldn't want to be associated with Coke, so I kind of agree with this one. So for this next complaint, I'm between the sticks and I've got my gloves on, and I think it's one that every single goalkeeper will almost certainly agree with. Right, so I'm about to face some penalties and see if you can work out what it is. Oh, he's actually done me. That was clever, Cam, that was clever. You know what? I said to Cam, we'll get a few normal penalties first, and then you can do the Panenka. And he's absolutely done me there. I can see why goalies hate that.
So some goalies have called these penalties unsportsmanlike. I'm not sure I'd go that far, but I can see why goalies hate it, so I do think it's a valid complaint.
Can you tell the difference between these two footballs? Because a lot of players have complained about this one, but they're quite like this one. Can you guess why?
So these balls may look identical, but there's one big difference.
So this is a very common complaint, and that is footballers saying the ball is not at the right pressure.
So having a ball that's not pumped up properly is something that a lot of players have complained about, often tossing the ball off the pitch in exchange for another one. But does this really make a difference?
So we've got the low air pressure here and the official air pressure in this ball. Little bounce test. 3, 2, 1. Wow.
So you can see there's a huge difference in bounce. And when shooting, despite hitting a few bangers, it's definitely not good to kick.
I feel like it's not going as fast for sure. Ah.
So I think this complaint is 100% valid.
Now, this next complaint on the list is one that I think almost all of us will be able to agree with, and that is bad quality pitches.
Neymar, along with many other footballers, have expressed complaints about bad quality pitches. I went to my local Sunday League pitch to test this one out, and what I saw there made me 100% agree with this complaint.
Look at this, this is absolute lunacy. That's so dangerous. You're a goalkeeper, you go to take a goal kick and you're in there. You know what, this one, 100% agree with.
I've done many tests comparing different pitches, and I've always came to the same conclusion, that a better playing surface definitely improves performance. So I think this complaint is very valid. So we've only got a few more complaints left to test out, and they're from some big players. But looking at this list, I'm actually surprised by how many I've agreed with. But will this continue on to our next complaint?
Next up, we've got a pair of boots that Neymar didn't like, but what was wrong with them?
So these are the Hypervenom 2s, and Neymar was the poster boy for these boots. He even had his own signature pair, but here's the problem. He didn't even like them. Instead, he wore Mercurials, but had them custom made to look like the Hypervenom 2s. So I tested the boots out to see if they were really that bad, to the point where even a player with his own signature pair doesn't want to wear them. So after testing them out, I think they feel fine. They're not my favourite boots ever, but they're alright. But I do think that to promote a pair of boots that you don't even like yourself isn't a great move, so I don't agree with this one. Next up, we have something that the whole Manchester United team complained about. The players said that this Man United jersey from 1995 was too hard to see, and therefore gave them a disadvantage on the pitch when trying to spot their own teammates. I've got to admit, it's not the best looking kit in the world, but is it really harder to see than any other shirt?
Is it hard to see? I don't know.
Now, putting it side by side with the brightest kit I've got, it definitely doesn't stand out as much, but I want to test this properly. I got my friend to stand somewhere behind me in the distance, without me knowing where. I would then turn around and time how long it takes me to spot him, and if the complaints are correct, then I'll be slower at spotting the Man United shirt.
Right, so first up, we've got the pink jersey. 3, 2, 1, go. There.
Under a second, that's pretty good. Let's see how the Man United shirt gets on.
3, 2, 1, go. There.
The exact same time. So although it does look harder to see, my test proves otherwise.
So this next complaint comes from David Beckham, along with many other footballers who all complained that artificial turf does not belong at football's top level.
David Beckham has expressed his dislike for artificial turf, saying that the ball doesn't react the same way that it does on grass, and the playing surface is much harder. And he has a point, as there is some research suggesting that injuries are more common on artificial turf. 4G pitches are becoming more popular in professional football due to the fact they're easier to maintain and you can play on them all year round. Now, whilst I think AstroTurf plays an important role in football, you just can't beat real grass, so I agree with this one. Now we have just 3 more complaints left. One from Ronaldo, one from Messi, and then the number one thing that footballers have complained about the most. But
next up, we've got one from Cristiano Ronaldo, who didn't necessarily make a public complaint, but it was clear from his actions that he wasn't a fan of these.
So the Superfly 4s are synonymous with Cristiano Ronaldo, and they're an iconic football boot. They feature a very high collar on them, and this is where Ronaldo's problem lies. The sock-like collar was the main selling point for this boot when it came out, and was the first of its kind. But Ronaldo was not a fan of this design, so Nike made him a custom pair without the collar on, which wasn't made available to the general public. So is the collar really that bad?
Right, let's see what this collar's all about then. I mean, it feels comfortable, but also completely unnecessary.
So I gave these boots a test out.
Now, it wasn't just Ronaldo that complained about the size of the collar. Many other footballers did as well, and since then, every mercurial that Nike have made, the collar has got lower and lower.
So overall, I'm not a huge fan of the collar on boots, so I kind of agree with this. So the penultimate complaint of the video comes from Messi.
These are the Messi 16 football boots, but here's the funny thing, Messi didn't want to wear them, but why?
These were Messi's signature football boots, but he didn't like the lace cover. Despite these being the top model of his own boot and the pair used on all the promotional pictures, Messi prefers the cheaper takedown model that left the laces exposed.
So putting these on feet now, I can't think of any reason why Lionel Messi wouldn't want to wear these.
From testing these boots out, I've got no idea what he didn't like about the lace cover, as there seems to be no downside to it. Messi also did the same thing with these Nemesis boots, having a custom burrito style collar fitted that wasn't available to the general public. So I think these are actually a really nice pair of boots, so I'm going to have to disagree with this one. But now we have one more complaint. So I did a lot of research for this video, looking at what players have complained about, and this is the number one thing. I can't really test this one out, but I've got 3 letters for you. VAR.